What's going on, everybody? It's Bromley at Empire Barbell. Today we are going to talk about one of my favorite things to rant about, and that is coaching. Now, real quick, I want to talk about the forum we just started, empire/forum.com. It's going to be a place where we can host discussions, ask questions, put up training videos, keep training logs. So hopefully it's going to turn into something a little more robust and in-depth than just the YouTube comment section. So it's going to be something that we're going to charge for down the road. We're looking at a couple bucks a month, but if you sign up now, it's free, and it will continue to be free as long as you did sign up when it was offered as a free membership. So go ahead and sign up. Let's get a community growing. Take all of your questions, comments there. I'm going to be very active on it. I'm going to be giving as much feedback as I can. So empire-forum.com, it's in the description. So I appreciate all your support, guys, because you've been huge in keeping this channel growing. I want to keep that going. So talking about coaching, this is something I think about regularly because it is so abundant. I mean, coaching is everywhere. If you follow anybody on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, you always see people posting their mediocre lifting videos saying DM for coaching. And the weird thing is it works. There seems to be this weird economy where so many people are willing to throw a few bucks at somebody to try and get some type of leg up, try to get some type of insider information from people who have been around a little bit longer or maybe a little more experience. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The bad thing is that the definition of coaching and the concept of what it should be and what standards it should be held to has gotten so watered down that there is no way to assign value to a coach. If you're in any other field, there's ways of vetting people. There's ways of checking experience. If somebody has an advanced degree, if they've done time teaching at formal institutions. I mean, if martial arts, you know what schools that they learned from, you know what belt ranking there are, or what their fight record is, or what other athletes they took care of and developed over time. So the field of strength sports is really kind of an anomaly because it's the only place you really see this kind of cesspool of information being spread around. It's being sold at a premium. So I want to talk a little bit about it because many of you have probably kicked around the idea of getting a coach, and some of you maybe actually have gotten a coach and had a bad experience. So I want to talk about what makes a good coach, what coaching is and should be, and how to kind of troubleshoot to make sure ahead of time that the person you're looking into is reputable and is going to give you what you pay for. So to start out, this is a list right here. I'm not going to make you guys wait to the whole video. I'm not going to hold you hostage. So to start out, this is the brief checklist of what you want to look for, of what coaching should entail at a bare minimum. This is a minimum viable product for what we're talking about. The first thing, the king, and this is where so many people fall short, personalization is a must. If there is no amount of personalization to the product that's being offered, you're basically overpaying for an ebook or a template. That's what it comes down to. There's plenty of people that sell those, and if they're being upfront about what it is, if it's not being billed as coaching, you're paying Larry Wheels $20 for a powerlifting program, like that's great. You're paying a little bit of money for this isolated packet of information, then it's up to you what you do with it. For coaching, there has to be personalization because you're paying for the direct feedback. You are paying for somebody to look at you, look at what your issues are, what your shortcomings are going to be, what pitfalls you're going to run into, and plan those out into a comprehensive program so that you're going to be able to optimize your time and get the most out of your training. I mean, that's the only reason you would pay somebody for their time and attention. If you go to pay a lawyer or some other hourly professional, you know, you're not going to want to end up at legalzoom.com. You're going to want to talk to somebody who you can ask questions to, who will give you personalized feedback that is specific and relevant to you and your situation. Even the most kind of broadly approach systems, like when you talk about team sports where everyone kind of follows the same program, or Olympic lifting systems where, you know, the way volume and intensity rolls over time is pretty universal to all the lifters. Coaches are still there looking at people, making sure their technique's on point, giving cues to help them maintain position or help them fix areas that they're struggling with. Oftentimes, even in like Olympic lifting, if lifters are having off days, coaches are there to call audibles, to say, you're not recovered from your last workout, we need to dial the percentages back. Or we need to maybe skip your next session to make sure you can come in on your heavy day firing on all cylinders. Coaches are there as entities, as walking libraries of people with so much expertise that they can make those intelligent decisions on the spot. So that is what you're paying a coach for. If you're getting the same template, if you're getting the same written out 12-week program that everybody else on the email list is getting, and you're not getting the feedback, you're not getting that personalized information, you're simply not getting coaching. It's something else. So if it's not being personalized, you wasted your money. Going down the list, and this plays into the personalization aspect, that's the constant feedback. And it's not just feedback once in a while. It's not just weekly check-in on videos. Constant feedback means, hey, I struggled with this bench workout because my elbows hurt by the time I got to the tricep work. That's the type of thing you need addressed on the spot. Ideally, coaches are there with you the whole time, start to finish. That's why we put a premium on coaching in person. It's always ideal to have somebody with you there. But if that's not viable, then you have to do the next best thing, which is remote coaching and doing video check-ins when you can, getting questions answered when you can. So there's a spectrum. Is somebody answering your questions repeatedly inside of a single day, or are they taking a few days on average to get back to you, or you're only getting contact or feedback, once a week, maybe a couple times a month? That's going to affect the value of what it is you're paying for. The more direct, constant feedback you get, the closer to actual coaching you're getting, the more spread out and removed it is from the time that you need it, the worse the product is, and the less you can really justify paying for it. There's a lot of these Instagram warriors that have a whole stable of people that pay for coaching, and I've heard of some of them having up to 60, 80. I'm sure some of them have even over 100 people on their list. Those are people that cannot, by definition, by virtue of how many people there are in that program, cannot get direct feedback. So you really have to ask yourself, how much are you willing to pay to get a little bit of feedback here and there? And is it really because you know the guy? Is it because the person has 100,000 followers or 500,000 followers? Or is it because you actually need the advice? You need that feedback. You need that instruction. So you're going to be better off finding somebody that can give you the attention you need instead of paying somebody who maybe has a label or a brand associated with them, or maybe you're a fan of theirs who's just not going to be able to give you the feedback you need. Education experience. This one gets a little hairy because there's no clear-cut way to define it. I talked a little bit about how in other systems there's educational credentials, or you can look at people based on their occupation or what they've done in the past. Coaching, you really look in this arena, you look at people and what they've done, what qualities they have that attract you to them, and it's a little bit harder to define. I think the three big things you should look for, ideally in the best coach, they're going to have some academic background, but all of their experience shouldn't be academic, and I'll talk about that in a second. They should have a ton of personal experience, and that personal experience should be in their own competitive career and in coaching and in helping others with their competitive career. So we're talking about specificity with coaching. The more experience someone has coaching, the more experience they're going to have in, let's say, troubleshooting common issues that most lifters have. They're going to have a better idea of how to communicate ideas to you. They're going to have a broader sense of how different people respond to different things, which means they'll be more likely to help you with your specific issues. People that are high on personal experience as far as their own lifting goes might be missing that. A lot of people, it's one of the reasons why the best athletes usually make the worst coaches. A lot of people can't understand why others don't excel as quickly as they did. If you have someone who's, say, a deadlift specialist, it might be a little harder for them to understand why this guy who's built completely differently is having such a hard time adapting to the deadlift work or recovering from the amount of work that gets prescribed. So that's where having the most direct coaching experience comes into play. Now, those three things are important. You don't want someone who has all of their eggs in any one of those baskets. It should be spread out a little bit. I think the worst offenders are the academics. Those are the people that grate me the most. And this happens in all fields, where the theoretical thinkers think that all of the studying and researching from afar is somehow in some way just as good as actually getting your hands dirty and getting experience in the field. It's not. When you're in the field, you might not understand the theory, you might not understand how things are specifically put together, but you can find the patterns. And more importantly, you can find what doesn't work. You're disqualifying certain methods or ideas as you go, because as you put things into play, you realize this shit doesn't work, we can't use it. It doesn't even really matter why it doesn't work. So as the theoretical people, the beard scratchers, the academics, they'll come into a field ready to apply all of the obscure knowledge they've learned, but oftentimes they don't have a sense of order of magnitude. It's one thing to understand principles. It's another thing to understand what things are important to incorporate and what things can you peel away, what things are a little less important. Those are things you only get by being out in the field, by getting your hands dirty. So it's kind of the false confidence that comes from people that don't have as much hands-on work in the field, but they think that having maybe a PhD or having an advanced degree somehow supplements that. It really fucking doesn't. I would much rather take a Mick from Rocky type character, some old grizzled bastard who's been in the field. Maybe half the things he says are objectively wrong. Maybe a lot of it's based in superstition or just what they've done for so many years. But those types of coaches know how to forge good lifters. They know how to forge good athletes because they've seen over and over and over the patterns that yield results. And that's ultimately going to be more important than having the most cutting edge, theoretical, physiologically feasible training methodology that ends up falling short because it can't predict what it doesn't know. Coaching is not a goddamn hand-me-down. This is another big one, and this goes back to personalization. Part of the cesspool of what we see with coaching is there's like this endless food chain where you're paying somebody else, but you see this person is tagging their coach, and that person has their own coach. And I imagine, I don't know if there's some grand master at the top who's like disseminating all the information down the mountain, or if it's actually some like tangled cluster of people circle jerking each other over their coaching knowledge. This is something that gets a little controversial too, because there's a lot of people that defend this when somebody who coaches for a living is getting their coaching from somebody else. People might say things like, well, I'm good at coaching other people, but I struggle with myself. I tend to make bad decisions. I need somebody to keep me honest. Honestly, I think what it comes down to is that the person who's coaching doesn't have enough faith in what they're doing and their ability to write out a comprehensive program, so they feel better in turn deferring to somebody that they view as an expert. I think it's a weak move. I think it shows lack of confidence in what you're doing, and I think it's something that spits in the face of the people that pay you for your coaching. I could not imagine considering myself as an expert in the field, considering myself as someone who has a handle on programming, who understands how to vary it over time so you get consistent, predictable results, somebody who understands how to vary it to adapt to the individual and how to call those audibles in the field and make those intelligent decisions in the moment to keep your program on track. I can't imagine being that type of person and still getting my coaching from somebody else, because I have to pay for that. I have to expend money for that. It seems like the only reason somebody would do that is if ultimately they have high stakes in whatever contest they're getting ready for, whatever they're trying to do, and they don't trust themselves or their method to get the results. I think that's an obvious sign of some type of cognitive dissonance where you're trying to convince somebody else you know what the fuck you're doing when it involves taking a buck from them. But when it comes to you and it comes to what you have on the line, you're not so sure. I think it's a dick move. I think it spits in the face of the people that pay you. I do not get my coaching from anyone else. One of the reasons I'm not even coming into my own in my 30s, one of the reasons it took me so long to get good is because I took the goddamn scenic route. It's because I found all these lessons out on my own. I would learn from people. I would find out different methods and apply different things. I experimented a lot, and there were a lot of setbacks. That by no means is a quick way to do it, but it's the best way to learn, and that's what I did. So every year that goes by, I get a little bit better, and my practice gets a little bit better, but the proof is in the pudding. Everything I learn, I apply back to myself. So if you see me get good going into a prep, you're gonna know that the things I did to build up, to set those PRs, to fix those weaknesses, those are the exact same things I apply to other people. I couldn't in good conscience take anybody's money knowing full well that I was getting my instruction from somebody else. I mean, it would be like if I was selling Pepsi and then I went and drank Coke. It doesn't make any sense. So this circle jerk of training that goes on, this hand-me-down culture, really what happens is people that are okay athletes or for whatever reason have a bigger social media following, they will get influenced by whatever authority they're getting their coaching from, and they end up just passing it down. And I think it's really disingenuous. I don't know why that's accepted as a viable business practice. I think it's shady. For as much as other fields worry about things like plagiarism, for as much as other fields worry about this broad sense of intellectual property, I think it shows that you yourself are not that qualified if you have to pass down somebody else's information that you in turn were paying for. It's like multi-level marketing of powerlifting. It's very strange. Coaching also requires trial and error, and this comes to a really big point, which is good coaches are going to admit what the fuck they don't know. Good coaches are not going to pretend like they know everything, like they have an answer for everything. The best way to tell if somebody's full of shit is if they never say, I don't know, or it doesn't matter. Because there's a lot of things you don't know. And admitting that is the only way to fulfilling the scientific process. You can't have empiricism if you can't admit what you don't know or what your sources of error are. So when it comes to coaching individuals, especially when you're new to those individuals, you don't know how they recover. You don't know how they're going to respond to the exercises you put them through. You don't know if the things you're going to have them do are going to aggravate old injuries. You don't know if it's going to cause new ones. There's so much you don't know that building this relationship is a constant source of trial and error. And if you don't have the personalization, if you don't have the constant feedback, if you don't have a broad source of experience and education to pull from, if you're simply just passing down programs from somebody else, you are not doing due diligence to that process of trial and error. So somebody who's going to be a good coach is going to be upfront with you. They're going to tell you what the process is, what you can expect from it. They're not going to say, oh yeah, I got this template, it'll put 100 pounds on your squat in 10 weeks. While that effect might have been seen in the past, it certainly isn't likely to be the effect that you are going to see. It's going to be a process of building a relationship, taking in new information as we find it, and retooling it into a new personalized system. That's what coaching is ultimately. So I can pretty much guarantee that if you DM somebody on IG looking for this type of coaching, this list of things probably came up short in their services. So I would strongly urge you to save your money. I would strongly urge you to find other sources of discovery. You want to be able to learn from the person that you pay to coach. You want to be able to, over time, find a consistent system. Your lifetime in training should not be program hopping and jumping around to different methods. You should be honestly digging as deep as you can to find a good method that works for you. So the minute you find a coach that puts you on a system of organization that works, that should be the thing that you spend all your time trying to get good at. So all of this is the main reason I don't even call it coaching. When I offer my services, I call it mentorship, because the term coaching, it's been stolen, it's been taken and beaten, it's been retooled into something else. Coaching is no longer actual coaching. So what I do is personalized, it is in depth. The people that I give mentorship services to, they have my cell phone number. They email me daily and I respond daily. People have texted me while they're doing their workout, asking what they should do on the fly because some unforeseen circumstance came up. All of the people that I train get different, more developed, more individualized programs over time. There is no copy, paste, send, okay? Everything gets built from the ground up. It's also one of the reasons I cap it. I only have 9 people at a time. So that's the reason I can justify my prices, because this is what I am offering you. So if for whatever reason any of you are tired of your shitty Instagram coach and you want something a little more focused and personalized, don't hesitate to DM me on Instagram at empire_barbell. What I do is I send out a questionnaire. You fill that questionnaire with your history, your best lifts, what your weaknesses are, and on and on and on. I build an idea of who you are as a lifter, and we put something together and go from there. After that, it's weekly, not even weekly, it's daily feedback. It's daily video review, it's daily email questions. I'm pretty much there with you throughout the week, and we make sure that not only are you getting it done, but you're avoiding all the pitfalls that you could potentially run into on any given program. Once you get through the first one, the second one is a little bit more personalized to you. Once we get through that, we have even more information, and eventually we put together this system that is unlike anything you would get anywhere else because it deals with you and your issues. So if any of you are interested, please don't hesitate to hit me up. The link to purchase mentorship is in the bottom. And if you see that link is gone, that means I'm at capacity and it'll open up. I'll advertise at some point in the future when I'm taking on people again. So if you've had a bad experience with a coach, go ahead and leave it in the comments section, or better yet, go ahead and leave it in our forum, empireforum.com. Link is in the description. Let's get a community building, have a good, healthy discussion about how to avoid these charlatans, right? And how to get better information moving forward. So questions and comments, go ahead and leave them. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, this is Bromley at Empire Barbell. I'll see you.